My friends, it's happening again. Doesn't happen often, but it's happening again. We're leading the show with good news. This is Howard Riell. The show itself is called Riell Truth, and the good news emanates from the Middle East. Item from the Daily Mail. President Donald Trump announced Wednesday, that's today, that America formally recognizes Jerusalem as Israel's capital city, changing decades of U.S. policy in a brief afternoon speech and casting the move as a bid to preserve, not derail, aspirations for regional peace. Appearing in the White House's diplomatic reception room against an elaborate backdrop of Christmas decorations, he also said the United States Embassy in Israel would over time be moved from Tel Aviv. Israel is the only country where the United States has an embassy in a city that the host nation does not consider its capital. I've determined it's time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, Trump said. While previous presidents have made this a major campaign promise, they failed to deliver. Today, I am delivering. When I came into office, I promised to look at the world's challenges with open eyes and very fresh thinking, he said, leaning heavily on the mid-1990s federal law that demanded the embassy's relocation. We've declined to acknowledge any Israeli capital at all, Trump added, but today we finally acknowledge the obvious, that Jerusalem is Israel's capital. There is nothing more or less than a recognition of reality. It's also the right thing to do. It's something that has to be done, unquote. My friends, a lot to unpack here. Number one, my hat is off to President Trump. He's doing the right thing. Number two, everyone on the planet knows that Jerusalem is and always has been the home of the Jewish people and the capital, the state of Israel. Nobody denies that. If you are the least bit sympathetic to the Muslim movement in the world, this should end that. First, the Muslims in the Middle East have appropriated Jerusalem, appropriated the Temple Mount, and their response to President Trump's declaration today is a threat. If he does it, there will be deaths, there will be killing, there will be acts of terrorism. My friends, I don't know about you, I don't like being intimidated. I don't like being threatened. And if Muslims are now going to act up and get even more violent than they are, well, perhaps it's time to begin killing a large number of Muslims, terrorists. Finally, I find it sad and pathetic that the Jewish state needs acknowledgement from some third party that Jerusalem is its capital. I find it sad that Israel, the state of Israel, is so pathetic it needs to crawl to other nations seeking its own justification. I also find it sad that Israel continues to allow Palestinians to live within its borders. Hopefully things are getting better. Riell Truth, Wednesday, we'll be back.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution.
American Window Tinting Incorporated in Franktown reminds parents, keep an eye on your child while shopping. Children tend to stray or become lost. This poses an opportunity for a would-be abductor. Please make every effort to keep track of your little one at all times. If you have information regarding a lost child, call local authorities at once. This message is from American Window Tinting Incorporated in Franktown. For residential or commercial window tinting, call 303-263-4228. Piccolo's restaurant did for the plan that over 750,000 children were reported missing last year. Over 58,000 of these were abducted by non-family members. Keep an eye out for youngsters that play, and if you see them, contact the authorities immediately. This message from Piccolo's restaurant and vendors is not only best Italian and Mexican cuisine, it's the people who care. Give them a call at 303-757-5166. 303-757-5166. Piccolo's.
All right, my friends, this is an historic moment in history, and I want you to hear it straight from the mouth of the president himself. Here is Donald Trump just a couple of hours ago talking about the United States finally acknowledging what everyone else has always known, that Jerusalem is the capital of the state of Israel. Go. Well, my friends, it appears that once again, technology is no friend of ours. We have lost the video feed, and so I will sum up what the president was going to say. Of course, I'll do it in, I will do it in more earthy language, more direct, more blunt language. Terrorism doesn't pay. Crime doesn't pay. Palestinians have been slaughtering Jews for decades and decades and decades, hoping it would win them something. Well, it's won them a lot of dead Palestinians. It's also won them, ultimately, nothing that they were hoping for. They want to control Jerusalem. They're not getting it. They wanted to destroy Israel. They haven't gotten it. Let's go back to the president if we can. Let's see if I can do this.
Jerusalem is home.
Well, my friends, that's a good part one. Moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem is part one of forging a lasting peace in Israel. Part two is moving the Palestinians out of Israel. Where should they go? I couldn't care less where they go. They can go to Jordan. They can go to Syria. They can go to Jupiter. I don't care. They are terrorists, supporters of terror, murderers, thieves, scoundrels. They need to go. And no matter where the American embassy is, until Israel has emptied itself of Palestinians, there will be no peace in Israel. There will always be terror, always be murder, always be acts of horror, because that is the sum total of what the Palestinians are, which, by the way, is why other Arab countries don't want them. We'll take a break and we'll be back on this historic day here on Riell Truth.
Great Plains Power has been providing reliable electrical power systems in the Rocky Mountain area since 1992. Our system is on the fun to help make you self-reliant for your power needs. Solar energy can be stable within any situation, from complete power independence to backup power for the short term. Expertise focuses on standalone power, but we have extensive experience with utility interactive systems as well. Custom tailored capabilities and modern emergency lighting all the way to commercial scale power. Great Plains Power is a full-service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom design systems, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the internet. Call 303-239-9963. That's 303-239-9963. Or go to GreatPlainsSolar.com.
The Solar City Council of the Nation of Nothing to make the plans of the people of the Nation. The Council of the Solar stands forever. The plans of its heart to all generations. Blessed is the nation. God is one. The people he has chosen as his own inheritance. Psalm 33, verses 10 through 12.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just power from the consent of the governed. This is the America's News Network.
My friends, it's a banner day when right triumphs and evil gets it right in the neck. Earlier today, before President Trump's announcement, they were speaking on Fox and Friends in the morning on Fox News about the declaration that they knew was coming. They had a guest, guy whose name you've heard on this show many times, Ben Shapiro. Let's listen to the conversation.
Ben Shapiro coming out.
It also signifies the difference between Jews and Muslims. Jews, like Christians, are peace-loving people. Just want to get along, mind their own business, live our lives. Muslims are weaned on hate. And if you think that's not true, then you're not really thinking, are you?
Well, when it has been under control in Muslim areas, it has turned into terrorist havens, to your point. But Ben, we want to get your
not just Jerusalem, where there are large collections of Muslims. Sweden, France, Germany. You have terrorism. This is no secret. It's not Islamophobia. A phobia is fear. I have no fear of Muslims. I'd like to get rid of them. Let them live in the Middle East and let them chew each other up. But it's time the world took this as a sign to get going, to start opposing, actually opposing the forces of worldwide jihad terrorism. President Trump has the courage to say to the terrorists, no! Crime doesn't pay. Murder doesn't pay. Terrorism doesn't pay. If the rest of the countries of the world will find the intestinal fortitude to deliver that same message, believe me, then there's some hope for the future.
Thoughts on another topic. The Supreme Court heard opening arguments yesterday about a case involving a man who baked cakes in Colorado and who did not want to, or made it based on his religious beliefs, make a cake for a same-sex couple. a wedding cake for the same-sex couple. My apologies. Your take on the implications of this case, which will be heard now.
This case really isn't even about freedom of religion. It really is just about freedom of speech and freedom of association. So in this particular case, the baker not only was willing to make a cake for the same-sex couple, he was willing to make a cake for the wedding. He just wasn't willing to decorate it with pro-same-sex marriages. He also won't decorate cakes for divorce cases. He won't decorate cakes for Halloween, for example. This has nothing to do with religion. The question is, in your business, are you allowed to decide how you wish to use your skills and for which events you wish to use your skills? The question that I would ask to everyone on the left who opposes this baker, and this is really an act of tremendous government tyranny. What I would ask people on the left is, let's say that you are a Barack Obama acolyte, you love the guy, and you write speeches for him. Let's say you're a speechwriter for President Obama. Can I walk into your business tomorrow and say, I now need you to write speeches for President Trump? And it doesn't matter if you don't like President Trump. The fact is, I have equal access to your services, and you should be able to use your artistry for President Trump. Otherwise, you're discriminating. If you don't like that idea, you shouldn't like the idea of forcing a religious baker to violate his religious principles and violate his free speech in order to please you.
All right. Ben Shapiro, thanks so much. Appreciate it, Ben.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Turning now to some headlines.
So my friends, Ben Shapiro was right on, spot on. Now the funny thing is, Shapiro has been a detractor of President Trump going back to the campaign. But I'm willing to bet that right now he is very, very happy that Donald Trump is president. In fact, so am I. I'm going to take us back to President Trump's announcement from a couple of hours ago, talking about recognizing Jerusalem as the eternal capital of the state of Israel. Back to the president.
This will immediately begin the process of hiring architects, engineers, and planners for the new embassy. When completed, it will be a magnificent football to peace. In making these aims, we also make one point very clear. This decision is not intended in any way to reflect the purchase of its political network to facilitate a lasting peace agreement. We rely on it and with a great deal to both members and a great deal to the Palestinians.
With all due respect to President Trump, he's talking nonsense now. There will never be a peace deal to which the Palestinians will adhere. They never will. They can't. They won't. It's not in them to live peacefully. It's nice to hope. But after 14 centuries, Muslims don't want to live peacefully. I can safely say that. Palestinians are raised from the cradle with hatred of Jews, Christians, America. So this is folly. Moving the embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital is only the right thing to do. It's the common sense thing to do. But thinking that this is going to lead to peace is folly. Ain't going to happen. Back to the president.
We are not taking a position.
And that, my friends, is the problem. America should be taking a position on the final status issue because America stands for what's good and what's right and what's just.
Specific boundaries of the Israeli sovereignty in Jerusalem or the resolution of contested borders. Those questions are up to the parties involved. The United States remains deeply committed to helping facilitate a peace agreement that is acceptable to both sides. I intend to do everything in my power to help forge such an agreement. Without question, Jerusalem is one of the most sensitive issues in those talks. The United States would support a two-state solution if agreed to by both sides. In the meantime, I call on all parties to maintain the status quo at Jerusalem's holy sites, including the Temple Mount, also known as Haram al-Sharif. Above all, our greatest hope is for peace, the universal yearning in every human soul.
Not correct. Not correct, President Trump. With all due respect, not all human souls yearn for peace. The Palestinians sure as heck do not. If you read the Quran, you understand that Muslims sure the heck do not. And this has historically been the weakness of people who are good. They assume the best intentions in others, and they're sadly mistaken. Palestinians don't wish peace, which is why the Palestinians need to be chained and muzzled and driven out of Israel. Let them live among their fellow Muslims and let them slaughter each other to their heart's content. But no, they don't want peace. If they wanted peace, they could have had it a very long time ago. Question: from whom do we need tolerance and peace? Anyone see Jews running out in the street to murder people? No. So when the president's calling for peace and tolerance and calm, he's talking to the Muslims. You think they're listening? You think they're capable of it? Do you think they desire it? Or do you think they're bloodthirsty bastards who need to be crushed rather than negotiated with?
Over the purveyors of hate.
Mr. President, its people are also bloodthirsty barbarians who have been hacking each other into chop meat for millennia. There's one civilized outpost in the Middle East. It's called the State of Israel. Everything else is a charnel house. And the sooner the world sequesters the Middle East, the world locks in Middle Eastern Arabs, the sooner we place the Middle East on lockdown so that their terrorism, their form of AIDS doesn't infect the rest of the world, the sooner we do that, the sooner we'll have real honest-to-goodness peace. Mr. Trump is a great realist, but he's not allowed to be a realist here because the politic thing to say is that, look, we'll all gather around, we'll talk, we'll make peace. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen, my friends. Just as the Nazis needed to be put down like a rabid dog. Just like the Japanese under Hirohito had to be bombed into submission. Same thing with the Palestinians. And since I've always been a moderate, my opinion has always been no. Don't bomb them. Don't kill them. Just get rid of them. Push them out of Israel. Let them live and be well. And if they won't do that, then stronger measures need to be done. That is how you achieve peace. All right, my friends, we'll take a break. Goes without saying by now. We'll be back.
Nutritional whole food supplement combined with bioage.com. And now, with just one nutritional supplement instead of many, the Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with all of the most nutritive algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain. And with focus heavily protein foods, if you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. No superfood and zero toxicity and the same for you and your family. Look for and order your Bio Superfood formulas at bioage.com. Spell BIOAGE.com. BioAge.com. Or call 877-288-9116. BioAge. Rick Power has been providing reliable electrical power systems in the Rocky Mountain area since 1992. Our systems rely on the sun to help make you self-reliant for your power needs. Solar energy can be scaled to fit any situation, from complete power independence to backup power for the short term. Our expertise focuses on standalone power, but we have extensive experience with the utility interactive system system. Custom tailored capabilities and modern emergency lighting all the way to commercial scale power. Great Plains Power is a full service company. We service everything we sell. We provide and design turnkey packages, custom design systems, and parts for do-it-yourself. With more than 20 years of specialized experience at your disposal, let us know what your power concerns or goals are. Reach us by phone or the internet. Call 303-239-9963. That's 303-239-9963. Or go to GreatPlainsSolar.com. And the Word became flesh and blood among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness of him and cried out, saying, This was he of whom I said, He who comes after me is preferred before me, for he was before me. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 14 and 15. The people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
All right, my friends, welcome back. Riell Truth starting the second half of the show. Ann Coulter was on the Mark Simone show yesterday talking about the resignation of John Conyers. 52 years in the House of Representatives, an icon who forevermore will be pictured with his pants down around his ankle trying to grab some staff member's thigh. There's your icon. Democrat icon. Liberal icon. Here's Ann Coulter.
completely unfair. Hedge fund managers through a loophole that should never have been approved by, actually he might be able to change it through the IRS. They only get taxed at 15% for multiple millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in income. This is what Warren Buffett is always talking about, how he pays a lower rate than his secretary. Even Warren Buffett wants to get rid of it. The Democrats will never touch it. It's a great way to humiliate Chuck Schumer, because he'll go on TV and pretend to be against it, but then, you know, in the back rooms do anything to save it, because Democrats get their money from Wall Street. Republicans are such morons. They don't even get money from Wall Street. Wall Street hates them, and they're constantly sucking up to Wall Street. That was a beautiful thing about Trump's campaign, and that is not in the tax bill. But come on, let's start with infrastructure. Let's start with the wall. I want a bloody knockdown fight on the wall, and I want every one of those senators and House members on the record, Democrats and Republicans. Let's see how that goes. No, Republicans it's so easy to con Republicans. The Democrats just say, oh, I don't think you want to have that fight. No, it's Democrats who don't want to have that fight. They don't want to be on the record, but Republicans are morons. Why are they doing tax cuts first?
Morons, indeed. A lot of Republicans are. Not all, but a lot of Republicans are morons and weaklings. Item from the Economic Collapse blog. This is one of the most historic things to happen in the Middle East in decades. Just a few days ago, I reported Donald Trump would recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel in December, and now we're being told Trump will make the announcement. Obviously, this was written yesterday. Administration officials are stressing this move is a recognition of reality, because, of course, the seat of the Israeli government has been in the Holy City for a very long time, unquote. My friends, let's talk about recognition of reality. The Palestinians will never, ever be peaceful, decent, civilized individuals, and so if we're going to grasp reality, we need to grasp that fact, and we need to push them the hell off of Jewish land. We'll be back.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Phillips, founder of the Green Earth. Well, it had to happen. When Colorado legalized marijuana, most people thought the Green Earth was a marijuana dispensary. Also, it was legalized on January the 1st, 2014. The same day we opened our new location at 4565 Gifford Street, 1.5 blocks south of I-70. There are 83,000 cars a day passing in front of our new location on Gifford Street, and most of them thought we were a marijuana dispensary. So we changed the name of our retail store to New Genesis Health, but kept the name of our Green Herb Supplements. So when you come to our new location, look for our new name, New Genesis Health, or call us at 888-765-HERB. That's 888-765-4372. And be sure to listen to the Healthy Nature Show with Brenda Phillips every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Now this is the testimony of John, the Jews and frequent Levites from Jerusalem that asked him, who are you? He confessed and did not deny, but confessed, I am not the Messiah. And they asked him, what then? Are you Elijah? He said, I am not. Are you the prophet? And he answered, no. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 19 through 21. No one anywhere is more noble, righteous, perfect, and courageous than our United States Armed Forces. These brave men and women and their families put the bill for our freedom every day. And the military should fight to let them know that they are in our hearts and our prayers and our thoughts. This message is from the Associate at your 24-hour Walmart Supercenter on Highway 287 in Mount Hood. They're on the air because they care.
Well, my friends, today we're saying great things and deserved things about President Trump. Just yesterday, and even, I suppose, in some quarters today, they're still saying bad things about President Trump, pressing the same lies. He colluded with the Russians. He did this. He did that. All of it nonsense. Yesterday on the Laura Ingraham Show, her guest was former Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz, hardcore liberal who nonetheless insists on ferreting out the truth, and for that, he gains my respect. Let's listen to what they said.
Professor Dershowitz,
Well, what else are the Democrats going to do if they stop trying to use the Constitution to subvert the United States? Item from Sky.com. A terror plot to assassinate Prime Minister Theresa May has been foiled, Sky sources have confirmed. Sky's crime correspondent Martin Blunt said, quote, "It's the latest in a number of terror plots that police and MI5 believe they failed this year. I understand that the head of MI5, Andrew Parker, briefed cabinet ministers today. Such is the seriousness of what they believe they have uncovered. It is, in essence, an extreme Islamist suicide plot against Downing Street. Essentially, police believe the plan was to launch some sort of improvised explosive device at Downing Street and, in the ensuing chaos, attack and kill Theresa May." Unquote. My friends, that is Islam. We'll be back.
125 or more. Please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioH.com. And now it's just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with four of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain, with focus, memory, liberty, and food. If you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has zero toxicity and is safe for you and your family. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formula at BioH.com. Spelled BIOH.com. BioH.com. Or call 877-288-9116. That's 877-288-9116. BioH. The Institute of Advanced Organic.
And of his fullness we have all received, and grace for grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. No one has seen God at any time. The only begotten Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he has declared him. The Gospel of John, chapter 1, verse 16. Elizabeth Walker Plan and Elizabeth reminds our listeners that the drug problem is well documented. We know our kids will be approached at early age We want to applaud the youngsters in our community who have had the strength to say no to drugs. They provide examples to their kids and families. Elizabeth, located at 366 moving our area, specializing in specialized HB and for and complete custom processing. 3658-2240. That's 3658-2240.
My friends, we are back. We're almost out of time. Item from Politico. A former Democratic congressional aide said Al Franken tried to forcibly kiss her after a taping of his radio show in 2006, 3 years before he became a U.S. Senator. The aide, whose name Politico is withholding to protect her identity, said Franken, Democrat, Minnesota, pursued her after her boss had left the studio. She said she was gathering her belongings to follow her boss out of the room. When she turned around, Franken was in her face. The former staffer ducked to avoid Franken's lips. As she hastily left the room, she said Franken told her, quote, "It's my right as an entertainer." He was between me and the door, and he was coming at me to kiss me. It was very quick, and I think my brain had to work really hard to be like, wait, what's happening? But I knew whatever was happening was not right, and I ducked, the aide said in an interview. I was really startled by it and just sort of booked it towards the door and said, "It's my right as an entertainer." And he said, "It's my right as an entertainer." Unquote. My friends, it's his right to be a degenerate. And just by coincidence, a Democrat politician. Item. From Agence France Presse, Dateline, Vatican City, Pope Francis Wednesday defended the status quo of Jerusalem, hours ahead of an announcement by U.S. President Donald Trump in which officials say he will recognize the disputed city as Israel's capital. Quote, "I cannot silence my deep concern over the situation that's emerged in recent days," the Pope said in his weekly address. "At the same time, I appeal strongly for all to respect the city's status quo in accordance with the relevant UN resolutions." Unquote. My friends, once again, Pope Francis is talking out of his ass. Not surprising, given all the scandals involving altar boys. The status quo means Jews continue to be killed. Horribly. The status quo means no peace in Israel. The status quo means crime pays. Terror pays. Murder and mayhem pay. If that's Pope Francis's message to the world, let him go back behind the walls. There in Rome, in Vatican City. Let him keep his mouth shut. Item from Bloomberg. Air rage is getting uglier. As the number of serious incidents involving drunk and violent travelers increases, airlines are being forced to physically restrain an increasing number of disorderly passengers, according to the International Air Transport Association. Statistics released yesterday by the industry's main trade group show a 50% rise last year to 169 passengers who were forcibly confined for behavior ranging from verbal and physical abuse to life-threatening actions, the most serious of which involved attempts to enter the cockpit. Unquote. My friends, another symptom of the degradation of American society. Item from Breitbart. Swedish Chief Prosecutor Lise Tam has claimed that the Stockholm suburb of Rinkeby is like, quote, a war zone. Ms. Tam, who will become acting head of the anti-organized crime unit in the new year, said she'd be looking to war-torn countries like Colombia and El Salvador to find new methods of handling the rampant violence in Sweden's no-go zones. Sveriges Radio reports. Rinkeby is almost like a war zone. When the police work there, they work as the armed forces would have done. Unquote. My friends, if they are searching for ways to stem the violence, well, it's pathetically simple. No Muslims, no Muslim violence. No Islam, no Islamic jihad. Now, if the Swedish authorities truly want to restore law and order and safety for its citizens, the answer is obvious. I suspect they don't truly want to do it. They just want to continue to play politics with human lives. I'll be back tomorrow, my friends, with more real truth. Hasta luego.